With everything happening in Florida, this video has gone viral at a wrong time. Let's watch the video.
Thank God for slavery. If it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
Listen, Mom, first of all, I'm offended by that. We do not worship trees in Africa. And the other thing is that, the second thing is that next time, please be more precise on which God you are talking about. And please read some books, get some knowledge. Jeez, woman. If you know TikTok as much as I do, you know that this woman was not spared. I've collected a few stitches for you guys, so let's just get into the stitches. I'm going to leave my own thoughts at the end of this video.
God wouldn't have never been able to use me.
I'm not saying nothing bad about nobody on crack, but it sounds like Pastor Enslaved might still be going to the crack house.
He can use me now. And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
First of all, I don't know what you have heard about Africa and how we worshiped on the motherland and in the motherland. I don't know why you think that slavery was a very intentional, strategic institution where they went to different parts of West Africa and got people who harvested different crops and took them on slave ships to states where those particular crops could be harvested, whether we're talking about sweet potatoes or we're talking about rice or we're talking about sugarcane or we're talking about cotton. They deliberately took people of certain stature from different parts of the continent and brought them here to harvest those particular crops. We're not talking about people who were lost and confused. We're talking about people who did not benefit from slavery, but actually helped the benefactor. They actually helped without choice. Beyond their ability to decide to do something, they were forced into labor where they were never paid to benefit the slave master. So you could thank God for slavery, but you are the wrong messenger, sis. And so for that, the doors of the church are now open, and I hope that you find your way back to salvation and out of whatever crack house you found yourself in.
I thank God for slavery. And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
Like, people will try to make these mental jumps of like, well, if we didn't get enslaved, we wouldn't know Jesus. And it's like, that's literally white supremacy. That's literally the thing that they said.
Janine Hill Fletcher talks about this in her book, The Sin of White Supremacy. It highlights how Pope Nicholas V linked West African slaving to evangelization in the 1450s. And from that point forward, bringing pagans, unbelievers, or so-called enemies of Christ to the Christian faith was popular justification of slavery.
And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
Something to keep in mind here too, right, is that Kimberly Daniels was appointed by Ron DeSantis as a part of the African American History Task Force for the state of Florida. The same task force that is now teaching that slavery was somehow a benefit to enslaved Africans. And then Kimberly Daniels comes out and says that she had no idea that they were teaching that slavery was a benefit to enslaved Africans and that her words were, quote, taken out of context, end quote.
Tell me that no one is actually saying
what?
that.
Like, the first Black woman who was a published author here in America, Phyllis Wheatley, wrote a book called Poems on Things Religious and Moral, something to that effect. But she has a poem about on being brought from Africa to America. Was mercy brought me from my pagan land, taught my benighted soul to understand that there is a God, that there's a Savior too. One salvation I never sought or knew. You know, like, she credited the colonizers because she got taken from West Africa when she was 6 years old. And she credited the colonizers with saving her. You know, so like, that idea still shows up in my comments. It's one of the most frustrating things and heartbreaking things, really, to read. This idea that if we didn't get enslaved, that we wouldn't know Jesus and we wouldn't be going to heaven.
That is blowing my mind right now.
We cannot erase or rewrite history when it makes us uncomfortable. We have to accept it, sit with it, and unpack it. That is the work, and plenty of us still have a lot of work to do. For those interested in that work, I'll be joining brilliant practitioners and teachers over the next 5 months for a virtual ancestral elevation retreat where I'll be teaching. My presentation will be on white supremacy and the demonization of African traditional religions, what to look out for. Feel free to get signed up at the link in my bio. Thank you for watching, and as always, like and follow for more content.
I'm gonna try to get through this because this is mind-blowing, but okay.
So this quote I'm going to read to you is from Kimberly Daniels, okay? Now, the reason why she's facing criticism for this very overtly ignorant quote is because right now in Florida, they have put together an advisory board to basically decide how Black history will be taught in Florida, okay? So I think we all know that they're probably going to teach that slaves were indentured servants. And let me just tell you for the record, slavery and indentured servitude are two different and separate things. And if you come up in my comments talking about some slavery was a form of indentured servitude, I will make it my business to embarrass you. Now on to this quote. I thank God for slavery. I thank God for the crack house. If it weren't for the crack house, God wouldn't have never been able to use me how he can use me now. And if it weren't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree. Now, from someone who incorporates African spirituality into her practice, the fact that she could belittle the spiritual beliefs of our ancestors really is the most trash panda thing I think a person of color, especially a Black person, can do, especially when that African spirituality she wants to belittle has been here thousands upon thousands of years before Christianity. And not only that, is so full of wisdom and knowledge that, like, I keep on learning things and it just fascinates me. The fact that this woman will be on an advisory board influencing how not only children learn, but Black children learn about Black history is utterly disgusting to me. And I don't see how Black people, especially, can say something like this just and say it with their whole chest. The reason why, like I said, this is being dug back up is because people are like, why should this woman who said this quote, right, be on an advisory board? Y'all, she is defending this as hard as that one chick who got the 7 kids be defending that deadbeat husband. Okay, she's on the same level of defense about this. And I'm trying to wonder again to my people, I know we don't have to think alike. I know we are not a monolith, as they say. But what point, what part of the sunken place are you in to make a statement like this? I am so tired of Black people too degrading African spirituality. Not only that, it's like a trifecta. You disrespected our ancestors, their spirituality, and our intelligence all at the same time. Like, I gotta stop this video because I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna get that 5 band. But this woman shouldn't be a part of an advisory board. Hell, I wouldn't let her teach my dog 2 tricks, let alone be on a board.
For slavery. Thank God that we are here. Thank God that we went through this. Those are the same people who never could use their minds and actually say, I wonder what the continent of Africa would look like today had white racists not colonized it. I wonder what the continent would look like today had the English not raped and pillaged the continent. I wonder what the continent today would look like if King Leopold had not killed millions of Black folks in the Congo and shipped the billions of resources from there to Belgium. I wonder what the continent would look like had there not been the Berlin Conference, when these same white folks sat together in the 1800s and then said, we are going to now split up the continent of Africa, and y'all get this piece, and y'all get this piece, and y'all get this piece, and then we are going to rule and control the largest continent in the world, and we are going to again strip it of its billions and trillions of dollars of assets. I wonder what the world will look like in 2023. Would you have had the wars? Would you have had the degradation? Would you have had the killing? Would you have had any of that?
I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
Well, I guess it's for you, it's a good thing that you thank God for slavery because you are the slave master's wildest dream. Keep on tap dancing for massa. Maybe one of these days you'll actually get picked. And then you'll be able to come in the house and sit right up under his feet.
Worshipping trees. Like, is she serious? Before slavery, Africans were kings and queens. We don't worship trees. Maybe some tribes do that. And number two, thank God for such a vile, ugly, vicious, inhuman thing is absurd. It's amazing how she says thank God for slavery when she was never a slave. She was never raped, she was never whooped, she was never hanged in a tree or chased by dogs. She never had her child snatched from her. What is wrong with some people? She sounds like Ron DeSantis, you know. It's like she's saying what Ron DeSantis said, like, you know, black people benefited from slavery. What kind of nonsense is this? Guys, please let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below. Subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed for more videos like this one. I will definitely see you in my next video. Peace, please.
This week, videos surfaced of the Jacksonville pastor saying she thanked God for slavery. She says that message is 15 years old and meant to convey that she's grateful for the ability to overcome obstacles despite history.
Slavery as it existed was cruel, inhumane, and an oppressive institution and was not a benefit to African Americans.